Have you ever felt like something was watching you, even when you were alone? What if I told you that someone on Reddit experienced something so terrifying that it shook them to their core? An experience that made them question the very fabric of reality. In today's story, a Reddit user shares their bone-chilling encounter with something that shouldn't exist. Something that has haunted their every waking moment, blurring the lines between nightmares and reality. Buckle up. This is CreepyRedditRuns, and you're about to hear a story that will give you chills. But first, a warning. What you're about to hear may just haunt you forever. Reddit user U-Chot Whispers, in the dark, shared their story one night in a post that left many people questioning the very nature of reality. It started off simple, just an innocent night out with friends. But as the evening went on, something started to feel off. What followed was a series of events that would change their life forever. It began during a camping trip in the woods. Whispers, in the dark, had gone with a group of friends to unwind. They'd been to this same spot a dozen times, but this time, something was different. The start of unsettling events. The group had settled around the campfire, roasting marshmallows, telling jokes and laughing as they usually did. But as the night wore on, a strange silence seemed to settle in. The sound of crickets, the rustling of leaves, the normal ambience of the woods, all of it had disappeared. In its place, there was only the faint sound of wind, and something else. It was as if the entire forest had gone still, Whispers in the dark writes. We all stopped talking and just listened. At first, I thought it was my imagination, but then I saw it. A figure, standing between the trees, just standing there, watching us, staring without moving. The group thought it was just another camper, maybe someone passing by, but when they shouted out, there was no response. The figure didn't flinch, it didn't turn, it simply stood motionless, and then it vanished into the darkness. At first, they laughed it off. They thought it was just someone playing a prank. But that was just the beginning. What happened next would shatter their sense of safety and reality. The odd occurrences begin. After the figure disappeared, things seemed to return to normal, but the feeling of unease lingered in the air. As they lay down to sleep, each of them felt watched. It was subtle at first, just a nagging feeling in the back of their minds. But soon the sounds came back. The creaking of the trees, the whispering of the wind, and then something even stranger. That night I woke up in the middle of the night. Whispers in the dark writes. I couldn't breathe. It felt like the air was thick, like someone had wrapped a blanket around me, making it hard to move. I looked around, and there it was again. The figure. But this time, it was standing just a few feet away from my tent. I could hear its breathing. Deep, ragged breaths. Terrified, they attempted to call out to their friends, but no sound escaped their mouths. It was as if something was blocking them. The figure stood still, but the oppressive feeling it emitted made them feel as though they were suffocating. How could something so real be so unreal? Was it just a nightmare? Or was something truly watching them in the forest? But it wasn't over. What happened next was far more terrifying. A return to the same spot. After a sleepless night, the group decided to pack up and leave. But no matter how far they drove, they couldn't shake the feeling that something was wrong. Days later, Whispers in the dark returned to the woods alone. They needed closure, needed to prove to themselves that it was all just a figment of their imagination. But when I went back, I didn't expect to find what I did, they write. I took the same trail we had walked days before, and at the very spot where I had seen the figure, I found something. A small, wooden carving. It was crude, like something a child would make, but its detail was disturbing. It was a figure, carved out of the same tree I had seen the figure standing next to. The carving was of a person, but its features were distorted, twisted. The eyes were gouged out, the mouth was stretched in a grotesque grin, and on the back of the carving was a symbol that looked eerily like a mark Whispers in the dark had seen before in their dreams. That's when it hit them. They weren't just dealing with a simple figure or a creepy prank. They had uncovered something much darker. The figure wasn't just a random camper, it had been waiting for them. The horrifying revelation. Days passed and strange things began to happen to you saw whispers in the dark. They found themselves having vivid, horrifying dreams of the forest, of the figure, and in every dream, the figure would get closer and closer until it was standing right in front of them. Its eyes, those hollow, empty eyes, would pierce into their soul. And then the whispers would begin. "It's not over," the figure would say in their dreams. "It's only just begun." Desperate for answers, you whispers in the dark began to dig deeper into the history of the forest. What they uncovered was far more terrifying than they could have ever imagined. The forest had a dark past, rumors of ancient rituals, sacrifices, and entities that lived within the trees. Legends of creatures that were said to wander the woods, watching, waiting for those who dared to cross their path. And that figure was not just a random person, it was something far older. The final encounter, a battle for their soul. On the night before they planned to leave the woods forever, you whispers. The dark had one final encounter. They ventured back into the forest alone, determined to face whatever waited for them. As they reached the clearing, the figure appeared once again. But this time, it wasn't just standing still. It moved toward them. "You shouldn't have come back," it whispered, its voice a rasp of death. The entity reached out, its hand cold as ice, and just as it touched their skin, everything went black. When they woke up, they were lying on the forest floor. The figure was gone. But the feeling of being watched never left. Was this simply a twisted figment of imagination? Or was something truly lurking in the woods, waiting for those who crossed its path? Some stories are meant to be left untold. Others will haunt you forever. Thank you for joining us on this chilling journey. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and turn on notifications for more terrifying stories. And if you've ever experienced something strange, let us know in the comments below. You never know. You might just end up on our next video.